running out of the vehicle and, you know, whatever. So we knew it had some effect on as a deterrent. But I think we had a customer come in and said to Joe, he said, hey, could you, what did he say?
Well, peppermint is...
Welcome to Sam's Garage, presented by NH Oil Undercoating. We kick things off by bringing the Summit Bandit to life with Edelbrock's Pro-Flo EFI. Clean wiring, modern tuning, and that classic scoop-ready style. Then we put the finishing touches on the Holley OBS, adapting the shifter, wiring the fans, and firing up the Sniper EFI with a serious growl. Next, we head to Southfield Classics to check out their high-voltage hot rods. Brand new 47 to 53 Chevy trucks built from scratch and ready for the future. Vick's Mustang gets the love it deserves, new headers, clean wiring, and smarter decisions that make this small block street machine run as good as it looks. This week, we bring the Summit Bandit to life with Edelbrock's Pro-Flo EFI. Modern fuel control with old school style. From harness routing to sensor setup, we're dialing in reliability and performance, wire by wire.
All right, so this is the week that we install the EFI on our Summit Racing Bandit project. As you can see, I've gone with the Edelbrock Pro-Flo EFI. They do an awesome job. It runs really well, gets it that old school look. That way I can put the factory scoop back on right on top. I've got the wire harness laid out. I've got everything I need along with the O2 sensor and the processor. Now the only thing that you're gonna have to buy separate is gonna be the sub harness for the ignition system, whether you have a 24 or a 58 tooth. Now all I gotta do is take off that manifold and start with the main wire harness. So here we got the fuel injection harness, and incorporated in with that is going to be the throttle body harness along with the ECT sensor. Now you're going to look, you're normally used to evens being on the passenger side, odds being on the driver's side on a Chevy engine. In this case, what we have is 1 through 4 on both sides. L is going to be for driver's side, and R is going to be for passenger side. Number 1 being the one at the front of the engine, number 4 being the back. All right, so as you can see, I removed the intake manifold from the car, took 2 minutes. That way it's a lot easier to fish all your wires through the bottom and through the ports, making it look good, and then just slap it back onto the engine. But before you do, because we have O-rings, and we don't want the O-rings to roll out of their position, you want to take a little bit of grease, Sil Glide, apply it around the ports. That way if you have to move the intake manifold on the cylinder heads, you're not going to roll those gaskets, causing a vacuum leak. So I got my ignition sub harness. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop the crank sensor in the hole. So the crank position wire harness is gonna go right in between the exhaust manifold and the engine block. So I like to take a little bit of DEI heat wrap tape and just go over that piece of connector's harness. And that way we'll have protection from the exhaust heat from the header. So I went to Summit Racing. Got me a OEM starter for any application, Pontiac GTO even, that's the least expensive one. Non-rotating, standard starter, they work the best, they're the most reliable, and believe it or not, they're even more compact. Okay, so when I removed the engine, I had an interior wire harness, which is this guy right here. These are my 2 wires that are gonna power up the room. So I'm gonna use the alternator as a junction. I've got the heavy wire coming from the starter to the alternator. I've got a wire coming from the battery to the alternator's post. Then I got my room wire. All right, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna hook up the main wire harness that goes to the computer to the 2 sub harnesses, one being the ignition harness and the other one being the fuel injection harness. Go ahead and mount the computer onto the firewall. I'm gonna mount the relay and the fuse right next to it. Then we're gonna go right here to the factory wires. We're gonna make sure that we have switched 12-volt power at the pink wire under cranking. We're gonna use that wire to hook up to our switched ignition wire for the Edelbrock. I've got my power and ground right here. I'm gonna shorten it and go to the alternator. And then we're gonna turn it on, see if we have power, and go ahead and program it. Okay, so now that we've got everything hooked up, we're gonna go ahead and pair the iPhone to the Pro-Flo EFI. All right, so you see that we have a direct port injection. We have a 376, which is a 6 liter, which that's what this is. We've got a mild street camshaft, 600 lift. We're normally aspirated. We got 42-pound injectors. All right, so we got the Edelbrock Pro-Flo EFI installed on our Summit Racing Bandit project. Now, you guys don't forget to read the instructions because this fuel pump wire is designed to go straight to your fuel pump if you're running a low amperage fuel pump. But any new fuel pump that's EFI today is going to run at least 15 to 30 amps, depending on the volume. So this you can use to control a relay. Very important, in some cases you actually read those instructions.
Welcome back to Sam's Garage, presented by NH Oil Undercoating. We're knocking out the final 1% on the Holley OBS, adapting the shifter for the 4L80, wiring fans and ignition, and firing up the Sniper EFI. It's all coming together, and it sounds mean, even without exhaust.
All right, so this is the week we get the last 1% done on our Holley OBS project. So that's going to include the shift linkage. We're going to adapt the truck shift linkage to the new 4L80 transmission. We're going to wire up the fans. We're going to wire up the ignition switch for the Holley Sniper EFI. And we're going to also condense the power wires that are going across this truck. The battery is on that side. We have a starter wire going from there to the starter. We also have a wire going from here to the battery to power up the room. So I went ahead and because the alternator's on this side, I'm going to use it as a positive pole. We're going to take a wire from the alternator, a thicker one, because now it's 150 amps versus 110. And we're going to go to the solenoid for the battery. That way it's going to power everything up and we should be good to go. We're going to go ahead and install the low car cable. And that's pretty much it. Let's see what we can do today. So this is the part where I'm going to adapt the truck shifter to the new 4L80 transmission. The truck came originally with a 4L65. First thing you have to do is make sure that you're in park. So right there, I'm going to go to the front. I'm going to come over here, make sure we're in park. Then what I'm going to do is bolt that bolt up. And I see I got lucky. One of these bolt holes lines up perfect with one of these old hand bolt holes. I'm going to make a bracket that go from the last bolt hole to this corner bolt hole on the trans pan, also using a spacer, making sure that the bracket clears the oil pan's ledge. Anytime you guys install your low car cable, you want to make sure to pull the inner from the outer. And in this case, there's a hole in the pedal, so this will fly in and out of that hole. But because I have the plastic retainer, I can easily go through the plastic retainer, go through the hole in the pedal, then when this snaps in, it won't come out. So make sure you guys use as much of the factory stuff you can to make your life easier and to prevent any problems in the future. Now I'm gonna go ahead and install the outer cable first, measuring it up, making sure it's good before I install, measure, and cut the inner cable. When I did the starter wire earlier, I forgot that when I cut the transmission harness out of the main harness that I did not loop the neutral safety switch. So that wire didn't work for me. I had to go inside, go to the starter switch, find my starter wire, pulled it outside. Then I went ahead and got me a live 12-volt switched wire, took it outside, went straight to the HEI distributor. I went with the Sniper EFI also teed off into the HEI distributor's positive. I also have a loose pink 12-volt switched power for the Sniper transmission controller that's on the way. So that way I can just easily connect it up and it'll be good to go. Whenever you guys are installing your Sniper EFI, you're going to take your handheld, you're going to connect it to the Sniper 2 adapter coming straight off the throttle body. So you got your EFI handheld device in your hand, you're going to go to Wizard, you're going to answer the questions. In my case, I have a negative coil wire input. We're good to go there. So for now, I've answered my questions. We should fire up. Let's see what happens. All right, Julie, go ahead and crank it. That makes it all worth it, doesn't it? Sounds pretty cool with no exhaust on there, huh? So the next thing I'm gonna do is take it over to my exhaust shop down the street here, hook up some wires, and this thing should be good to go back to Jose. You guys, today vehicles have gotten double the price, sometimes triple the price, and we want to protect that investment and make sure that vehicle can last as long as possible on the road, and that's where NHOU comes in. We have a completely new product.
NHOU Boss Wax Hybrid. Vehicles come in with major corrosion. And I don't mean I mean surface rust, but stuff that you shouldn't see on the undercarriage of a vehicle.
And that's the beginning, right?
That's the beginning. And so if people say they want to use our Boss Wax, great. Boss Wax really isn't designed to go over rust. And so we're having to remove this rust and, play games and whatever, to get the surface the way we need it. So what we did was we said, okay, how can we mitigate that rust and still offer them the warranty? And so what we've done is we've made a product and it's compatible with GMC. It'll displace moisture and oxygen when it does its creeping, and it takes about 3 months before it solidifies and seals, and so it allows that to pass through. Then it seals, and you're not worried about encapsulation.
When you think about it, the maintenance is pennies to the dollar compared to replacing it and the investment money that you lose.
Cheap insurance.
Welcome back to more Sam's Garage, presented by NHOU. Today, we're at Southfield Classics, where vintage trucks meet high voltage. From scratch-built 47 to 53 Chevy pickups to 700 horsepower EV race builds. This isn't your average resto, this is the future rewired.
We are somewhere very special today. I'm with Dan. He's the COO of Southfield Classics. As you can see, one of the chassis in front of me, what we're going to be talking about, which is manufacturing new 47 to 53 Chevy trucks. And this is a little bit different because you can see the engine in the middle of that chassis.
This is a Cascadian Motion IM 225 motor. It's got 300 horsepower, about 735 foot-pounds of torque with the torque box inversion on it. Basically, it's stock chassis for a 47 through 53 truck. Has a forward 9-inch rear end, a 411 gearing for posi track, Willwood brakes, basically all set up. It's got a Mustang 2 front suspension on it, basically all hot rod stuff.
True, you meant motor, that's electric.
That's an electric motor. That actually transmits all the power from the battery packs. This chassis doesn't really have the battery packs on it yet, but they're ready to go. They're next on the list.
And John, we like to call it high voltage versus electric, correct?
Well, we don't want that politicized word of EV anymore, do we?
There you go, because this is high voltage, right?
High
But
voltage.
take a look at this chassis. You guys are a manufacturing company that builds these cars or trucks from scratch, new VINs, completely brand new. And how quick can you get one done?
Usually it takes about a 6-month turn from the time you leave your deposit, pick your colors, pick your wheel package, pick your interior colors, and your wood floor package. We get started on it, start ordering parts, and usually we can turn it out in about 6-month times. We use all new sheet metal, and you can order them either with a flat firewall or a divoted firewall like an original. We plug up all the holes. We get all the individual body panels separately. That way we can check the fitment better, make sure that it fits and aligns like we want it to fit. We reinforce some of the bad problems that they had with these trucks, which was the doors, so we reinforce all that. We have a removable dash that we've made for these that takes it in and out so you can put all your electronics behind it. We kind of keep it that stock look. These are all brand new panels that are supplied from a GM certified supplier, and we just weld it all together. With all the electronics and all the high voltage equipment that we have to put in them, it just made it easier for us to be able to get behind it. We can build it on a table, we install the dash, all the electronics are hidden behind it. We've designed our own chassis, we own our own molds for the bodies, so we can either fiberglass or carbon fiber. So we build everything in-house, everything's brand new, all new chrome moly tubing, set to race specs on this car because it's actually going to be a race car, but we are going to do a street version and a race version of this car. We've made our own upper and lower control arms modeled after the C6 suspension package so that you can run C6 wheels and tires. It gives us our travel and our clearance correct with the correct geometry. So this one that we have on the table is a race version of that car. It should weigh around 2,300 pounds. We've got a bigger electric engine that goes in it, a motor that goes in it, that has about 675 horsepower. and it'll have a couple, about 1,800 foot-pounds of torque at the rear wheels.
And so to be clear, you're making one of these as like a street package, and then you're also doing this as a race package.
Right, so basically this car will be able to, you'll be able to drive it every day and be able to take it on the track on Sundays if you want to, change your tires, put slicks on it, and you'll be ready to go. So it'll be a street race version. This car is actually just set up for race, but the next one will be a street race version.
I'm glad we were able to bring this to you guys. We're gonna be doing this a lot more. Be on the lookout for it. We may just be putting one of these trucks together for you guys so you can see the whole assembly process of it. These are not electric vehicles. These are high voltage vehicles done by professionals, gearheads, that have taken all the guesswork out of it. All you guys gotta do is drive it, plug it in. You don't have to worry about leaks. Thank you so much, Dan. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it.
You guys will see Southfield Classics at the NOP Nationals September 13th, 14th. They're gonna have a huge spread at Echo Park in Hampton, Georgia.
Welcome back to Sam's Garage, presented by NHOU. This week, Vick's Mustang comes alive. Headers on, leaks chased, and wiring sorted. We're fixing what the last builder left behind and keeping it serviceable. Because fast is great, but fast and practical, that's real horsepower.
All right, so Julie, this is the week that we get Vick's Mustang running, right? I went ahead and installed the headers because usually when you're installing headers, there's tools flying and I didn't want to bore them with that.
Ironically, though, it went really smoothly.
It did in this case. And we're gonna be doing some maintenance while we're in here. We're gonna replace the steering rack bushings, they're completely shot, and we're gonna change out the tail shaft seal because it's completely leaking. Hopefully when it leaves here, it'll run real fast, make burnouts, and not leak.
And you tightened all the bolts that were loose.
It'll probably still leak though. I went ahead and put on my ignition wires. I got me a set of Summit Racing ignition wires, brand new in the box. Also, the reason I changed out the wires is because you have a boot here that's completely burned through. There is plenty of room on both sides of the boot at the header, and the header is HBC coated. So you don't need these in this particular application. When you look at it and you see you have room and you're not gonna have a concern, don't just go buy something and shove it in there just because they sell it and it's on the shelf and you can add it to your list of parts you have for your build. That's not cool. That's not very practical. So all you builders out there, I want you to think twice about when you have a customer come in and they ask you for something. It's your job to school them. I've got some sort of accessory front drive kit on this. The entire kit is held on by 4 long 8mm bolts, which kills their integrity the longer they get. Also, we have an 8-groove belt here. The tensioner broke because going all the way, we could not get the belt on. That 8-groove belt does not exist anywhere. I need one 5 to 10 millimeters longer so it can actually go on, but there isn't one. So then I went and got the tensioner that the company recommended, and their cover no longer fits their tensioner that they recommended per their part number. So I'm just saying, be practical when building cars. Just because they sell something doesn't mean you should buy it. So I want to replace the steering rack bushings. You can see the front of it is pretty broken up, but it's a one-piece bushing that gets jammed through, then the sleeve goes through it, then the hardware goes through it. These are the OEM ones that come for Mustang. The OEM ones go in like this, the bushing goes in the middle, the bolt goes through. I would have been done. Now, call Summit Racing, get the correct bushing, and this car is gonna sit on the lift for 2 to 3 days. So that's just what I'm saying is if you're gonna build a car, I like to build it to where they're serviceable. Check this out, folks. This is a PCV valve. This is an aluminum, hard aluminum, thick bodied PCV valve from Edelbrock. Pretty cool. I may be old, but this is new to me. I haven't seen it yet. Vick's car is done. Sure, it doesn't run. It does run, but I can't crank it because the belt's on and the water pump will spit all the coolant out of the upper thermostat housing, like I told you earlier. I'd take the belt off and let it crank for you, but I don't have 6 hours of labor time right now. Ain't that right, Pepper?
Sam, I think you did a great job with this car. I know it's never easy when you take over a car that's been built by someone else. And I think you've mentioned that before. When you're building your car, you always want to make it serviceable because you never know, where you're going to be. You could be in another state, another part of the country, and you need work done. And if it's hard to find parts or it's an unusual application, that's going to make it harder for everyone and more expensive for you.
But dude built a very cool car.
Yeah.
Hello?
Be sure to check out Sam's Garage on these other media platforms. Send us questions and feedback to info@samsgaragetv.com. From EFI upgrades to EV innovation, every project this week pushed things forward. The Bandit's alive, the OBS is dialed in, Vick's Mustang is cleaned up and buttoned up, and Southfield Classics is rewriting the hot rod playbook. Thanks for watching Sam's Garage.